Welcome back to Women in Sales, the podcast for gals who are done playing small. I'm Vicky Yee, ex-lawyer turned six-figure closer and CEO of Her Sales Society. And in these episodes, I'm here to show you how to back yourself, learn a high-income skill and get rich doing it. Hit subscribe and let's get into it. Right, gals, today I'm joined by special guest Rosaline. Her story is unique. Growing up in France, moving to Dubai, she was in corporate sales in one of the most prestigious hotels in Dubai and has recently made the jump into full-time remote sales. This one's real and raw, so lock in and let's get to it. So welcome to the podcast, Rosaline. Thank you very much for being here. It's a privilege. I know you've had a very busy schedule, so I appreciate you fitting me in. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries. So, I guess the best place to start in terms of what the audience wants to know is why on earth did you get into high ticket sales? And where were you before?
So I actually studied hospitality in one of, the number one schools in the world in Switzerland. And working for one of the top most luxurious chains, I got promoted to a managerial role really early on into my career, and I was very blessed. I was very lucky. Yet, even though compared to a lot of the people from my class, I was in a really good position, a really good job, I still found myself financially struggling every single month to, pay my bills, pay off my loans for student loans as well. So I knew I needed to find something else alongside. That was originally the plan. Was just I needed a little extra something to be able to just pay off, these certain things. So it's actually a funny story how everything kind of started. And actually, I don't know if you know this, Vicky, but one of my friends messaged me one day and was like, I'm going to do this abundance challenge. Like, do you want to do it with me?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, whatever, sure. What do I got to lose at this point? And so it was like every single day I had like a different meditation I needed to do and like different little like visualization exercises and all of these things. And mind you, at this time, so I was working in the sales department in the hotel I was working for. Sales were really bad. And my boss had actually even told me, like, there's something going on, like, I don't, with your energy or whatever, like, you need to look within to, like, attract opportunity.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Which, to be fair, it was the entire market was really bad. But, fair enough. Like, I understand we also attract things. So I was like, this abundance challenge comes, at perfect time. Let me try it. During that time, sales at work starts to go up. And I'm like, oh, wow, like, this is crazy.
It's working.
It's working, yeah. And so I tell one of my friends, like, oh, my God, I just closed, this, like, 3 million dirham deal, whatever. And she's like, oh, my God, like, how much commission are you getting? And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, aren't you getting commission? And I was like, no, I just have my, fixed salary. And I have goals at the end of the year, but that's basically it. And she was like, oh, why don't you just go into high-ticket sales? And I was like, what is that? And she was like, oh, well, I think you should look into it because at least you could get commission. So I was like, okay, why not? Let me give this a shot. And then I came across the academy and, obviously we had a call together.
Rosie was one of them really annoying people, by the way. Split it up over the lowest payment plan.
And I didn't make a decision on the call as well. I had to go check my finances. But I was genuine, though. Like, I actually had to go check things out. And so I came back, like, I think 2-3 days after the call, it was done.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I basically had money saved for a very important surgery I needed to do. And I remember we were talking about it on the call, and I was telling you the thing is I kind of have the money, but I have a surgery planned.
Guys,
and
just for everybody watching from the UK who, doesn't have these problems of having to pay student debts off, because we get given that by the government and we get surgery from the government. Rosie grew up in Dubai, right? So you're a Dubai resident. So we have to pay for these things ourselves. So yeah, like when she's talking about student loans and things like that, I know obviously we get a lot of help in the UK, but it's not like that out here, right? You've got to pay for everything yourself. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify that if anyone was thinking. what is she talking about? I've got to pay for this surgery myself. And we're talking like actual health surgery, not like...
Yeah, it was not plastic
not
surgery.
like plastic
No.
surgery.
No. It
Yeah.
was like actually really required surgery. So it was a bit of a gamble.
Yeah.
But I remember you told me by the time of your surgery, like, you're already going to be working and you're going to make that money back. Like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So
That sounds like something I would say.
yeah, trying to get the sale in. And so I just, I remember telling myself, and it's funny because I called a friend afterwards and I said to her, listen, I signed up, I paid, like it's done. You can't, talk me out of it.
Was your friend in high ticket sales herself?
So the one I spoke to, no.
Okay.
The one that told me about it, but her friend was.
Okay, right.
So that's why.
Yeah.
But then, I spoke to one of my best friends, like, after that, and I told her what I invested in, and she obviously was, like, terrified. She was like, what do you mean you just invested on something online and, like, invested all this money? It's a scam, yeah. And I said to her, I was like, listen, like, if so, it is what it is. I'm in this abundance challenge vibe. I feel like, it was the universe putting this on my plate. Like,
Yeah.
It was just all the circumstances. Because, actually, what's funny? The day we had our call, I didn't even realize, because obviously I'm like, the challenge was 21 days. And at some point you like kind of lose track of where you're at. The day we had our call was actually the last day of the challenge.
Shut up.
I swear.
Really? Well, now I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And I realized that afterwards because I used to do it every night before going to bed. And so when I did so, and then I saw day 21,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my God, like, is that a sign?
Yeah.
So yeah, I really took the whole, this is like the abundance challenge guiding me and like telling
Yeah.
me to do this.
Because do you know what's funny? There's a lot of people who, what you just said there is so important. The way you look at life and the way you look at things. I don't know whether you've always looked at life like this, but when you start to look for opportunities, you see opportunities. It's like when you look for a green car, right? You see as green car. Or when I look for G-Wagons, all I see is G-Wagons. Not necessarily in the UK, but in Dubai. And people look at things a lot of the time and they'll either look for a reason to do it or they'll look for a reason not to do it. And whatever reason you're looking for, you're going to find at the end of the day. Like, you could have literally looked for every reason not to go into your savings, not to do that. Like, you're 26 now?
Yeah.
At the time you were 24?
24, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like pretty young. Especially, as I say, there's not a lot of 24-year-olds who have those responsibilities of, like, I feel like you're really old. I'm always still surprised how young you are. I mean, we'll talk about, like, considering buying a property in the UAE and everything. We'll talk about that in a minute. But, yeah, you could have looked at that and thought, as you say, that's a scam, I'm not going to do it. Let all of these people talk you out of it or whatever. And made all these excuses not to do it. Like, you had genuine reasons, probably, like, you like surgery or invest in a high ticket program. It's the same thing. Like, oh, I've got these responsibilities, I've got these kids, or invest in, in myself. But the moral of that is, like, if you're looking for a reason to do it, you'll find it. If you're looking for a reason not to do it, you'll find it. So, glass half empty, right? Tell everybody what you've been up to this summer since. So, Rosie left corporate. When was that? April.
Yeah.
April. Where are we now? July.
August.
August.
We're in August
Okay.
already.
Oh wow. Okay. So April, May, June, July. So you're in your third month of full-time closing, and you've managed to do things that you've managed to go places, travel. Like, I don't even, as I say, this is why it's so difficult to get Rosie sitting down with me and talking on a podcast, because you've been to so many different places over the summer. Tell the audience where you've been.
So I had a wedding in Ibiza, so that was kind of like my first stop.
Yeah.
And then from there I kind of was like, well, I'm in Europe anyways, so I may as well see all the friends and the family that I haven't been able to see because I've been here working. So I've been to like 6 or 7 cities, I think, in this time, all between Spain, different cities in Spain, different cities in France. And then I came back here, and I'm going to Lebanon in 2 weeks as well, which I'm very excited about.
So Rosie's got family in France, the south of France.
Yes. I went, grandparents in Paris as well, so I went there. Saw 2 of my friends. They're also in 2 different other cities in France.
Yeah.
Saw friends in Spain. Got to go to my friend's wedding, which, and I have another wedding in November in the US, which at the time was giving me such anxiety because November is the peak time in hospitality in Dubai. And I was always like, how am I going to get time off during this time? And I'm maid of honor. Like, I kind of have to be there. Yeah. So that's like a whole other relief is I can go to everybody's wedding now. You know, I don't have an issue anymore. So no, I have a lot of travels planned, you know, which is the beauty of things. And I got to spend a whole month with my grandparents, which I haven't done since I was a child.
Yeah, that's so nice. You know, it's so funny when Rosie's, obviously we do our sales meetings, right? So I'm actually the sales manager of the offer that Rosie's closing on at the moment. When we do our sales meetings, you can just hear your grandparents in the background in French. Like, they must be thinking, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh, it was really hard to explain to them. It's like I was getting every single day. My grandma was sitting and she was like, so why don't you just move to France and just work a corporate job? And I was like, Grandma, like, have you met a kid my age that's not living with their parents in France and that's not struggling, that's not earning like minimum wage? And she's like, but me and your grandpa. I'm like, yeah, but that was like 50 years ago, you know, 60 years ago. Times have changed. Like, trust me, like, I'm doing really well compared to basically anyone that you would know that's my age. It was really hard for them to get it. But funny enough, when I had my grandma on the phone the last time, I don't know what happened in her mind, but she was like, you know what? I want you to enjoy your life. And I'm happy that you're enjoying your life.
That's so nice. That's so nice. Honestly, like, I've even said to Rosie herself, like, since she's left that job, even your face has changed. Like, your face is so much softer. You don't look tired all the time. Like, I can really see, I don't know if it's like the European glow as well, but like, so you worked in hospitality since you graduated. So 3 years?
Yes. So I was also working when I was studying, like summers and internships and stuff, but like properly working was 3 years. It was just like, of course, it's long hours. Everyone knows it's long hours. That's fine. But, you know, I was living really far away from where I was working, and I would take 2 hours to get home in the evening sometimes, and an hour to go in the morning. And I literally was spending my entire day at work or trying to get to work or trying to get back home. Yeah. And then weekends, I would just sleep the entire weekend. I would sleep 12, 14, 16 hours a night during the weekend to catch up for the week. Yeah. And, you know, I had a lot more. I had like 10 kgs more than I have right now, probably.
Really?
Yeah. It's funny because I bumped into like my dance teacher last week, and she was like, I didn't even recognize you. She was like, you lost so much weight. What happened? I was like,
I left my corporate job. Guys, like, you know, if that doesn't speak 1,000 words, then, you know, I mean, I want to talk about that because there's a lot of people watching this who'll be like, how did you even have time to do something else? Because for a long time, like, let's say you signed up to the academy. When was that? February 24 or March 24?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, so this hasn't all, and obviously, you know, we see the highlight reels now of you traveling all over Europe, living this life, but what it took to actually get there, and I think your story is quite inspiring, to be honest, because for 6 months you didn't land an offer, and it was really difficult for Rosie to land an offer. Like, you know, I remember calling you, I think I was on the way to football. I remember calling you, and it was like month 6, and obviously the mentorship was month 6, and she still hadn't been placed. She was like one of the first people to pass her assessment. You found it pretty easy, right? The training. Yeah. You found it pretty easy. Is that because you've been in sales, do you think?
I wouldn't say so, because even though I know you can say, oh, but she was working in sales, it's super different.
Yeah.
because like when I was selling hotel rooms for groups.
Yeah.
It's not at all the same thing. Like I'm speaking to some employee that's trying to organize a work meeting for. It's not the same relationship.
Yeah.
So I would say even if I was working in another department, I would be at the same level. I think, first of all, which is I guess the good thing about investing money that you don't really have is then you don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
So, when I had called my best friend and I said to her, like, listen, I did this, and she was freaking out. I was like, did I ever fail anything in my life? I was like, if we think about it, right? Like, have I ever not succeeded in something? Everything I've put my mind to, whether that's like my high school diploma, whether that's driver's license, whether that's uni diploma, every single time I did something, I did it and I succeeded. Why would that be any different?
Yeah.
And she was like, fair.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. A lot of people, and I see it when I'm on sales calls as well, a lot of people are so scared. And I ask them, like on sales calls, sometimes I ask them, like, did you ever fail anything in your life? Do you have a diploma? Do you have a driver's license?
Yeah.
Do you have where is this lack of confidence coming from? If, of course, some people will have failed at certain things,
Yeah.
but then you have to ask yourself the question, why? Is it because it wasn't the right thing for you? Is it because you genuinely didn't take it seriously? Trust me, if you're investing money you don't have, you're going to take it seriously.
Yeah, of course.
And so a lot of the time, when I get these women that tell me on these sales calls, like, oh, but like that would, I don't have the money. I'm like, that's a blessing that you don't have the money.
Even more of a reason. That's exactly why you're going to be so successful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I said to them, if you had that money just there in your bank account, you wouldn't care.
Yeah.
You wouldn't wake up and put into work. And, to answer what you were saying earlier, I was coming back home around like 9 p.m., sometimes later, and obviously I was exhausted, but I was like, I have to do this. And you know what's funny? I used to come back home literally like shower, go to bed straight, not even have dinner, not do anything, not even watch TV, just like go to sleep because I was so exhausted. But having like a project, having something to do, somehow gave me more energy.
Yeah.
And it's like the fact that you're challenging yourself or the fact that there's something coming that's exciting, you're not as tired anymore.
Yeah.
And you have that energy to go study, do the role plays, do the excitement. And even at work, actually, I found myself to be more productive.
Yeah.
Because just overall, I had this different aura. I had this different energy where I was like, I'm actually building something for myself. I'm doing something for myself.
Yeah.
Before, I was just living in like autopilot, survival mode. Just go to work, go home, go to work, go home. And that's it. And sleep, my weekend away.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so interesting. That's yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's really powerful because, yeah, as you say, like a lot of people will make comments at me like, oh, you're a workaholic, all you're doing is work. Like, and I literally, even Saturday night, I was up to like 4 o'clock in the morning working. Obviously, I've got jet lag as well. But it just doesn't feel like work. I don't know if you feel like that about sales, like when you're talking to someone and you get off the call and you're so like high, especially when you've closed because you know you're going to help that person. So like you worked your whole shift in the hotel, you come back, I remember you would sometimes go to your dad's because it was if you had a call booked in at like 7 because her dad's was closer, her dad lives in Dubai. You would work till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and then you would be back up 7 in the morning, and you've done that for like 8 months, where eventually, you were in a position where you could hand your notice in. It was very like strategic because there's a lot of people thinking, I bet you there's a lot of people watching this thinking like what is that transition like, I mean, in terms of going to work every day and like, was there ever a time where you thought, this high ticket sales is not worth it? Like, I'm gonna give up. Like during even those first 6 months when you wasn't getting placed, like, did you have doubts that you were like, oh, this is?
I think I did because obviously I had applied for quite a few offers and I kept hearing the same feedback of, we love your profile, we love your education, but we require more hours from you.
Yeah.
for this to make it work. Because I was like, I'm only going to be available to take like 1 or 2 calls a day, and even like I don't know, because if there's something, like I've stayed at work till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. sometimes,
Yeah.
because and it's not like I would know this in advance. It's like on the day you have a group arriving tomorrow, and then you just have no choice. Or there's been weekends where, on Friday they're like, all right, well, we need you here Saturday, Sunday. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have plans. I don't like, so I always had so much anxiety that I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to like potentially cancel last minute some stuff. And so when people weren't taking me in because of my hours, I was like, oh God, is this going to work? But I didn't see it as, oh God, I've just spent all that money and, I should have never done that. I really didn't see it that way, because somehow I had this, like, maybe it was like from the Abundance Challenge. Maybe I'm like insane in the woo-woo world, but like I just knew it was like meant to be.
Yeah.
So I was like, whether it's now or later, or, whether that's going to give me another opportunity. And actually, I remember when you called me to tell me that, you got me an offer. I mean, usually we go through a whole like interviewing process. Usually I apply for something. And like you said, it was the 6 months. I was getting in my car from work, and you just called me and you were like, are you still interested in work, working as a high ticket closer? I was like, yeah, obviously. You're like, all right, cool. You're starting tomorrow. I got you some. And I was like, wait, what? And so I remember I was like freaking out. And the next day we like met for a few hours. You onboarded me, and that's it. Like it started straight away. And it was like the craziest thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that was like September, right? Last year.
Yeah.
And now here we are, how many months later? I mean, like, compared to where you were 18 months ago, in fact, let's even just say in September.
Yeah.
Like, your life has changed dramatically. Like, obviously, you said you lost weight, you're able to travel. What are some things that you are able to do now, even just like little things, like even just being on this podcast at whatever time it is? What are some things that you are able to do now that you couldn't do before? Like the biggest changes for you think?
I think it's like no longer having such bad anxiety when it comes to money. I used to have an Excel sheet where I would write down every tiny expense.
Yeah.
I used to get anxiety about needing to drop a friend at their house, or need to help someone out or drop someone else, because I was thinking of like the tolls, the 4 dirham toll that I'm going to have to pay. I was thinking of the extra petrol. I was like literally became this not this like stingy person, I would say, but every opportunity I had, like if I went to the gym, I would like fill up a bottle of water from the gym and like take that home, because that would save me 1 bottle of water that I have to buy when I'm home.
Wow.
Like I became this like crazy person with like my Excel sheet calculating every tiny little expense and beating myself up for it if like I wasn't able to save that month, or I wasn't able to do this. I no longer have that anymore. I'm like happy to invite my friends for breakfast. I'm happy to invite my friend for lunch, for dinner. I'm more than happy to drop anyone home to do this. I used to have this like, I used to do it, but I used to then have this like anxiety and like put that in my Excel sheet and figure out how can I make this work for the end of the month. Like just to be able to just come and do things without freaking out about like, that 10 dirham change is going to make to my life.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
That is crazy. That is literally crazy that you used to do that. I know that you, like, Rosie's quite good. You're quite good with money anyway. Where does that come from, do you think, like being like that?
It's funny because both my parents are the complete opposite. And I think that's probably what it is. Both my parents are the type of people that just, whatever they have, they spend.
Yeah.
And they're both extremely generous as well. Like they'll just buy the most nicest gifts to people because they really want to make people happy. But like sometimes it's like, okay, well, you're not really in a position to do so. And I think I've been like low-key traumatized by this because I'm like, you guys are just spending without really thinking of like, okay, well, what's going to happen tomorrow? And then they're putting themselves in difficult situations. So I think I've always been the type to be, you need to be careful with, what you're spending and what you're doing. And I think I just, and also when I was in university, like I was very blessed. My dad was, helping me out financially to pay for my school in the beginning, and for my expenses. Switzerland is crazy expensive. But unfortunately, when COVID hit, he just called me one day and he was like, listen, you're on your own. You have to figure it out. You have to figure out your tuition. You have to figure out your apartment. Like, you have to figure everything out, because of COVID, he just couldn't help me anymore. Yeah. And so that's when the Excel sheet started.
Yeah.
But, and then I think, that sudden hits of like, one day you're just have to figure out how to pay for all these things. Like, it stays with you, that I'm like, I never want to be put in that position ever again.
Yeah.
Where I have to figure out, and it was awful. Like, I was studying and I was tutoring and I was like doing nails and I was selling products online at the time. And I was like trying to find like, jobs over the weekends. And same thing, I wasn't really eating. I had the Excel sheet, like every kind of free thing I could get somewhere, like I would, try and get it. And I just told myself I'm never going to be in that position ever again. So I'm always going to be very cautious and make sure that I never have to deal with that again, basically.
Yeah, and I want to talk about, like, that's super powerful what you just said there, because obviously, like, you're operating from a place of lack, and I don't think a lot of people don't realise subconsciously, like, you can either operate from a place of abundance, the abundance challenge, there you go, or you can operate from a place of lack. What you just said there, because I know we've had another couple of realisations. I think one was quite recent when you text me, talking about, like, you were looking at buying an apartment at the age of 26 in the UAE, which is an amazing achievement. Even, like, considering doing that, there's a lot of people who wouldn't, never mind, not in the UAE, like in the UK, where we do get, like, it's like lower mortgage rates and stuff like that. I know it's quite hard to buy over here. But I guess maybe thinking somebody else is going to come and save you. Like, I know you said there your dad sort of, and I had that realization when my dad, like, I remember asking him for money once, and I know why he did it, because I think it was money for a festival, and I think I was like 19 or 20. I was like, can I lend money for a festival? Everyone's going to this festival. He was like, no, figure it out yourself. And, like, obviously it's the best thing that he's ever done for me. But yeah, thinking, because I know in Dubai, there's probably a lot of girls watching this thinking that they're not capable, or a man is just going to come, whether it's their daddy's money, or whether it's a rich guy who works in finance is going to come and save them. How is did you sort of grow up sort of thinking that you were always going to find, because I know, like, some like European, sometimes in Europe is that whole ideology, isn't it, of like, oh, a man should pay for everything, a man should come and save you, and you should be a housewife. I don't know if that's more common in Europe, that the man goes to work.
I think so. My dad's Lebanese, right? So in my dad's mentality, it is like, the man is the provider, and basically they could both work. If the woman's money is her money, his money is their money. She decides to work, amazing, that's her money too. And I do have that mentality myself, if I'm completely honest. Yeah. But I think for a long time, being raised here as well, where, you do see that, right? You do see a lot of the guys, whatever, they have all this money and blah, blah, blah. And that's why it's also, Dubai has attracted the kind of people that it has over the years, unfortunately. But I did have that mentality, but I think it came as well, if I'm being, like, completely honest, it came more from a lack of self-confidence.
Okay.
Of I myself would never be capable of providing this for me, more than, I just, want to be, like, spoiled or whatever. I think it really came from, will I be capable? And I think, like, obviously I was born and raised here, but I did move as a kid a lot. Like, I think in the span of 3 years, I did 5 different schools. In 1 year, I did 3 different schools once, because my mom just kept moving and taking me with her. And so when we were moving, we were changing, like, languages, curriculum systems, all of these different things. So I was constantly the new kid entering the middle of a random curriculum, having no idea what the hell is going on. And on top of that, changing languages.
Yeah.
So I was always the dumb one in class
Yeah.
that had no idea. We moved to France. I didn't know how to read or write French. And I was put in a public school at the age of 8. 8-year-old kids don't understand, why can't you read and write? And it's like, well, I can, but in a different language.
Yeah.
And so I think that takes a toll. And I was really hard on myself. Like, why am I not managing to get the grades that everybody else is getting? And I always had to work twice as hard because I had to try and catch up. Like, the curriculum that they started, suddenly I come middle of the semester
Guys,
and learning something else.
Just to mention, Rosie is you are one of the smartest people I've ever met, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, like, honestly, really. Like, obviously, the work ethic is second to none. That makes sense now where that comes from. I was going to ask you where your work ethic comes from. And, like, the first time we ever met in person, we've met a couple of times in person now, right? But I can't remember if it's the first or second time when we went to the retreat in the villa.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what you were talking about, a topic, like a broad topic or something. I was like nodding and pretending I knew what you're talking about. But the depth of the conversation, there's not a lot of people at your age, especially in Dubai, who can hold a conversation, speak how many languages? 5? 3?
Yeah.
5. I was saying 5.
4 soon,
3
hopefully.
languages. So, you're saying that always as a kid, you've always had to work twice as hard as everybody else to get to where you want to go.
And it's funny because I realize now, of course I was going to struggle, it's normal that I was struggling, but I really thought at the time, I must be, stupid or dumb, what these other kids are saying. Why are these other kids managing and I'm here, working and I'm not managing to understand? And, teachers were cruel as well. They would call my name out to read in front of the class. And it's like, I don't know how to read French. Oh. So then I would start trying to read, obviously taking, a long time, and all the kids start laughing. And so all of these experiences always made me believe, you're just not good at school. And that was kind of the weird reputation I had, even in the family. People would say, oh, Rosaline, she's creative, She's the creative one, she's good at sports, bless her.
Now look at me, bitch.
Exactly, right? So, and then once from the age of 12 to 18, that's when I stopped moving. So from 12 to 18, I was in the same school, same language, same curriculum. And that's when my grades just little by little started getting really, really good. And I remember we were predicted grades by our teachers. And so I did the IB, so the International Baccalaureate. And it's out of 45 in total. And I remember my teachers predicted me a 32. 32 is still a pass. It's not bad. But I remember that upset me so much. I was like, 32? That's it? So I got 39 in the end, which usually people get their predicted or, less. And, all the teachers were shocked. How did you get, something so much higher? But I think that really motivated me to be like, you know what? I'm not going to accept that you're predicting me a 32. I'm not accepting that. Yeah. I'm going to go and, work and make sure that I get more.
Yeah.
And I think this random confidence kind of came with that time. But again, it stays within you. That, am I capable? Am I going to manage? That's from when you're a kid. I think that's always going to stay. And from that lack of confidence, I always associated that a man or someone is going to bring that life to me.
Yeah.
And I think it's only recently I had that realization, wait a second, I can actually bring that life to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot thanks to you as well.
Oh, thank you. Wow. That was powerful. Powerful. I guess on that, have you, there's a couple of things on that. Firstly, is that is what I love so much about sales, by the way. What makes Rosaline such a good closer at the age that she is usually I would say older closers make better closers, usually because they're more interested and they've had more life experience, which is, I would say like probably the number one thing of other than your skill set and your energy is so you got to relate to people. And if you hadn't have been through these experiences, exactly what you said, like when you're on sales calls and you sprinkle a little bit of your own story and you sprinkle a little bit of your own, like, we call it like, like dialogue basically, because they're connecting with you as a person. Although you're selling for the CEO, they're connecting with you as a person. And if you hadn't have been through all of those experiences and those hardships and, the struggles and stuff, I don't think, or do you think you would be as good as you are as closing?
No, definitely not.
No, me neither. My last question was, did you ever, or did you, when you was growing up, like, what did you want to do as a career? Was it always hospitality? Did you ever picture yourself in sales?
It's funny because I really don't know what I want. Like, if I try to remember what I was imagining my life to be like,
yeah.
I feel like it was always a bit of a blur. Mm-hmm. I knew I always wanted to start my own thing. Mm-hmm. I always felt like I was going to have my own thing one day.
Yeah.
And at some point I was thinking to like to kind of stay in the hotel thing, maybe open my own retreat or like, like open a sort of, my own kind of hotel or accommodation kind of thing. But it was always really hard for me to envision. And I think, again, coming from that lack of confidence of, will I ever be able to, to do something like this? And funny enough, I was even imagining like, okay, well, I'll just marry someone with like the financial capability to help me start this business. Yeah. I never imagined that I'm going to start something myself without, someone helping me or someone doing something.
Yeah, for sure. And like as I say, there's a lot of people who would be feeling similar to that. But what we always tell people, even on sales calls, in my content every single day, I speak to people every single day, the confidence doesn't come first, right? You have to do the thing there, like funny enough, you don't get confident like at driving before you start driving. Do you know what I mean? You have to do the thing first. And there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm just not confident at like talking or sales. I've never done sales in my life. But you get good at doing something by doing it and practicing and getting better. Like I was so bad at sales when I first started. I couldn't even sell 100. I remember got 10 no's in a row for £150 a month, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Literally. So people just think, oh, she must have always been good at sales. No, I always had work ethic. I was always willing to be, coachable and learn. I wanted to learn. I had resilience. I was always looking to make money. Obviously, you got to be motivated by money, right? I had those character traits, but the skill set is learned. So, as I say, like anyone can be good at this, and that's what I love so much about it. It doesn't matter whether you are from France or you're from Dubai or you're from England, you're a girl, you're a boy. It doesn't discriminate. It only discriminates work ethic, hustle, and how good you are.
And attitude. If you can take the amount of people I know that are so talented and so smart, but the second you give them a feedback or the slightest comment, they can't take it. And I've realized with time, like, that's such a big skill, is to be someone that, like you said, is coachable, which means can actually take criticism.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you're the first one. We analyze my calls once, twice a week, and you don't sugarcoat it. Like if I didn't do a good job, you're going to tell me, and I have to be able to take that. And I appreciate that. I'd rather you tell me, like, listen here, you really handled that poorly, you know?
Yeah.
That wasn't a good call.
Yeah.
You could do better.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like, obviously, it's a skill of resilience and being able to handle constructive criticism. And that's exactly what sales is. You get that feedback straight away, because if you haven't done a good job, you ain't going to close the deal at the end of the day. And as I say, that's what you come into the academy to do. But like at the end of the day, how are you going to get better if you're not going to be open to that? I mean, we mentioned there about being motivated by money. What is next for you?
What is next for me? Well, I'm trying to get that apartment sorted. My idea would then, start a somewhat Airbnb business, would be the ideal.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean, just going off the back of that, like, I don't know whether we ever said sales would be the end goal for you, but it's usually the first stepping stone. Like, there's so many girls who are like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, I just know I want my own thing. And I'll always just tell people to get into sales if they don't know what to do, because it's almost like, we call it like the cash cow, right? It gets you the cash quick. You build your skill set. Obviously, it's a skill set you're going to have for life. Allows you the cash flow fast to then be able to go and invest in other things. And there's a lot of people. I was speaking to one of my students the other day, Rebecca, who she got into setting a few months ago. With that money, she's now started her own cleaning business, which is really doing. And I was surprised, to be honest. I was like, so you're not doing setting anymore? She was like, no, I still want to do it, but she's with the money from setting, she's quit her job. Obviously, she's able to save, and then she's invested that money into a cleaning business in her area, which is doing really, really well. So it's like, I'm not saying you have to be in sales forever. Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't know. Who knows? Well, I might be in sales forever. But do you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, you might not always be a closer. I mean, for now.
Yeah, my parents and family are always asking me, you know, like, what's like the big plan? And I think anyways, no matter what you get yourself into, you're always going to have sales, like whether it's a cleaning business, whether it's Airbnb, whether it's starting your own makeup brand, jewelry, whatever it is, like the skills of sales are always going to come in. And funny enough, like, I feel like even as just a person communicating and meeting people like every day, these skills have really come in handy. Like the way that I present myself, the way that I talk about certain things, even like I'm getting an Arabic teacher. And so I've had like a lot of recommendations, and I didn't really know how to handle that. And usually I'm like a people pleaser, and I'm like, okay, like this is your rate, I'll just take it, and whatever. But I saw myself really negotiating with all these different, potential prospects of being an Arabic teacher. And I just view it differently. I'm like, you know what, this is like a transactional service. Like, if I don't agree with that rate, I'm going to try to negotiate. Yeah. And, the girl's rate was usually 30. I managed to negotiate to 15 per hour. That's amazing. I wouldn't have even asked for 15 before, I would have been too scared. So I think just as a person as well, especially when you're young and you're scared to do these things, it really builds your character and brings you skills that you're going to be using in your everyday life. But also when you meet people, it's just different. I think you just mature a lot more.
Yeah, 100%. What would you say to somebody who is on the fence about getting into high ticket sales?
I would say genuinely ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? And would you let that happen? Because the worst that could happen is that money goes to waste. Would you let that happen? Realistically.
Yeah.
Right? And again, if you have the money just sitting in your bank account, maybe you would, because you wouldn't care. Yeah. But these people that they don't have that money, that's exactly why you should do it. That is exactly why you should take, because then you're gonna be forced to actually making it work for yourself, because you're not gonna have another choice.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest power that you can have.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, that was moving. I appreciate you coming on. We'll wrap things up there. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time.